Okay, everybody, welcome again to what is now the third in our series of webinars in association with Zurich. So today's webinar is on coaching new players. So anyone who's been with us for the previous few weeks would see we started off with an active start coaching in nursery, and that's followed on by coaching children, and now we're on our coaching youth. So we have with us tonight, we have Willie Cleary, our hurling development administrator, and Anthony Masson, the football development administrator. And both guys are talent development leaders in Wexford GAA. They put again a lot of time and effort into this webinar tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. Behind the scenes, we have Dara Kassan, who's our performance GDA, and also he's looking after the technical side of tonight. So yeah, again, welcome to a new way of learning and sharing that knowledge that we've kind of stumbled across, and we really look for you lads to play your part in all this. So everyone is joining tonight. Now interact with us as much as possible. We really do welcome your feedback, welcome your input throughout. So the lads will be asking you to send message into the text box throughout, and please do that. Interact with us as much as you possibly can. We will have time for a question and answers at the end for anyone who's interested or anyone who has any questions. Please hold them until the end. Some housekeeping, I suppose. We do have to let you know we are recording it tonight, and there's a question in the text box there. And yes, we will be emailing out to all participants at the end. So we're going to gather up the 4 or 5 in the May series of webinars, and we'll email them out to everyone at the end of the month. So again, keep your mics turned off and your cameras turned off as well throughout. And yeah, so I'm going to pass you over to Anthony to get going now. And again, please interact as much as you can, guys. So Anthony, over to you.
Thanks, Ray. Welcome everybody. Great numbers here again. So we got great feedback after last week. So delighted to see the big numbers. Looking out have to pull the blinds over on the window because the sun is shining in so much, and we'd all surely love to be out on the field tonight. But hopefully we can make tonight worthwhile. We can all learn something from each other, and we can pick up a few little tips. These few weeks have been about learning for me, and I'm looking to learn something again tonight. So as Ray says, plenty of feedback, loads of interaction is what we're looking for. There will be a bit of overlapping from last week's webinar. Some things we just couldn't take out because some things have to stay the same up through the ages in our club, and we're just going to be hitting on a little bit of something different tonight to engage us more at the end. So it's very same as on the field. If you want to get your point across or get your message across on the field, you have to repeat and repeat and repeat. So some of the things will be repeated tonight. So, but we'll be flicking through as quick as we can and getting to the business end towards the end. So again, loads of interaction, and we'll hand you over to Willie there now to introduce the session.
Yeah. Hello everyone. Good night to all. Just move it on there, Dara, to the next one. So just to reiterate what Anthony has said, I suppose when we're coaching any kid, so if it's from nursery or active start up to minor, which we focus on, a lot of the stuff will stay the same. So today is actually progression from last week. So if you were in last week, you might see some stuff again, but there'll be a lot of different stuff as well, but it's a progression on what we did last week. And my colleague today working with me, Al Monaghan, gave us a great quote. He says that when we're coaches, what we coach will change, but how we coach will stay the same. So that the skills that we train minors to will be different than the skills we train 7-year-olds to, but how we do it as a person, as a coach, can stay the same. So tonight in an overview, we're going to go through the main factors to consider when coaching youths. So it's a very different ball game to coach maybe primary school kids or the younger children. And that's something that we're going to really consider when being a coach and being involved in a GA club. We're going to go over the core values of a club or a management. We're going to discuss the player pathway for under 13, 15 and 17 in both hurling and football. Last week, we obviously did 7s, 9s and 11s. So this week is the progression to the next to 3 older age groups. We're going to discuss the role of a coach in a club and over a team. We will discuss games-based and drills-based coaching. And I suppose this is where the bulk of tonight will be. Even though there's maybe more points at the top, the bulk of tonight will be from games-based coaching down to how was your team set up. And I suppose the biggest thing we want to get across tonight and you to really remember is that when you're coaching teenagers, is that if you must have a way that you want to play as a coach, and you must coach to that way. So really focus on tonight when we're teaching everything. How is the culture in the club? That'll be the first part. Am I progressing them in a correct manner, an age appropriate manner? And then, okay, I believe we should play this way, and I'm going to coach towards this way. Okay, and that might be new to some people, might be not new, and mightn't be new to some people. But that's really what tonight is going to be about. And then we'll be delighted at the end to answer all questions that you have. So thanks, Dara. So the biggest thing, I'm going to get you going straight away in the chat box with our teenagers. So we're thinking teens the whole time here tonight. What are the main factors outside of GAA to consider when coaching teens? So just bang into the chat box what you think are the main factors to consider when coaching teens. Away you go. So JJ said other sports, school, different stages of development. Excellent, Fergus. Education, other commitments, social lives. Come on, Paul. Hormones, very good. Puberty, developing a little bit different. Love lives, thanks, Wesley. You must have had an active teenage years yourself. School, home life, relationship, very good. Excellent. That's a really good one. Relationships, discipline, keeping it fun, very good. Relative age theory, well done, Connor. Excellent. They'll want to have an input. Family issues, peer pressure, personalities, normal people. Thanks, Seamus. Yeah, he played county minor football for Kildare for 3 years, would you believe? All Mescal, so there you are. Okay, so just to go on a little bit further, okay, there was one of them there I just want to describe if people don't know what it is. Connor put in relative age effect. What relative age effect means is the time of the year you're born. So why we class a year in GAA as January to December. So anyone born in those 12 months will play in the same age group. So you have to, and in GAA we do it by 2 years, so under 15, 17. So you could have a lad who was 17 in January and he could be playing minor with a boy who won't be 16 till December. There could be 23 months in the difference. So one of them could be 15 for the year, the other one could be 17 for the year. So there's nearly a 2-year gap between them playing each other. So that's a massive effect on underage. So if we just put up what we have as the main factors ourselves, so, and you touched on nearly all of these: school, exams, technology, puberty, growth spurts, social media influences, relationships, other sports, alcohol, gambling, drugs, family environment, bullying. So just to touch on a few of them quickly. One of the biggest things, and I suppose it wasn't around when we were teenagers as such, or a lot of us were teenagers, especially when Seamus Bourne was a teenager, but technology now in terms of the iPhone and social media, kids are addicted to their phone now. We can see that. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, they'll be on it. Other stuff that we don't even know about, I'm sure. So we can dismiss that and pretend it's not part of their lives because it wasn't part of our lives as teenagers, but it is there. And with that comes peer pressure, comes pressure of life, pressure of appearance, pressure of alcohol, pressure of everything like that goes with that. We touched on relative age theory, which I suppose again goes to puberty growth spurts. So a person could be 4'5" at 13, but by the time that they're 17, they could be 6 foot. And the player, so we need to work on the skills no matter what their size, because everyone will grow differently and everyone has a role. Some people could be way bigger at that age and they're the dominant player, and yet by the time they get to minor, we haven't worked on them enough. And that's probably the biggest issue we'd see. I would imagine, and you can put a thumbs up again, who has been to an under 13 game? We started the under 11, under 13 game and seen the best player played midfield and dominate the game for the whole hour. Put your thumbs up if you've seen that happen in recent years, even, or every year. And can I also ask you then, yeah, keep typing in, great. Can I ask you, by the time you saw them at minor, or even go further to under 20, under 21, were they always still the dominant player? Thumbs up or thumbs down? No. It's amazing, isn't it? And that's regressed is the main. Very good, Adrian. Yeah, so the regressed, they might still be one of your top players, but they haven't developed. And the reason often this can be is that we ignore their weaknesses and we focus on their talent at a young age and their size and their physique. So, for example, you know, if the player is dominating under 13 because he's bigger, faster, stronger, maybe at that age, by the time he comes to minor under 20, that's kind of gone or it's gone. And if we haven't worked on his weaknesses in terms of left foot, left side, his fielding ability, his attitude, okay, often as Simon said, they can become very ordinary at minor. And we often say, and we've all stood at the side of a pitch and said, do you remember him when he was under 13? We couldn't go near him. and yet by the time we get to adult, it's not there. So that's a massive thing to consider when developing teens. Relationships, we spoke about that there, came into the chat box. So they have a whole different problems when they were kids. So girls, boyfriends, friendships, the gangs they hang around with, the groups they're in, other sports, very good, soccer, rugby, golf, whatever it is. And then we have the introduction of alcohol, probably, which in Irish society is very prevalent. And I know, having spoke to a lot of people, I suppose this would be a massive issue too in urban areas. So the urban areas, you could have 40 players at under 10, and then by minor, you're struggling to get a team together. Often this can come from social distractions. The family environment, and that's one thing we'd really stress in Wexford GAA. You have to get to know the player, okay, the person off the field, that we're developing people even more so than we're developing players. So does the child, the child is coming to you at 14 to the pitch, where did they come from? What is it easy for them if they break a hurl to get a new hurl? Is it easy for them to get a helmet? Have they got boots? Have they got, full gear? Can they get lifts to training? Can they get a lift to an away match? You might just say, we'll meet you up in Davidstown at 7:30. The Raps might say, we're meeting you in Davidstown, and you think that's easy for them to get there. It mightn't be easy for them to get there. So everyone has different situations. And the last one major factor outside GAA to consider, I suppose, that we included is their relationship with other kids, and maybe there's bullying going on. We're all the secondary school children that we saw. It did happen, and it happened in GAA pitches, and you as a coach have to consider that when you're bringing a group together and I suppose building a culture in a setup. So excellent start to it. I'm just going to hand you back to Anthony now to move on.
Thanks, Willie. So coaching youths, our aims and objectives. Okay, so our role and responsibility is to ensure that they benefit from and participate in our Gaelic games in a safe and enjoyable environment, and where our games are conducted in a spirit of fair play and respect. So before we look to do anything else, that should be our main platform. That there's a safe and enjoyable environment, and there's a spirit of fair play, and there's a lot of respect both ways. So our aims and objectives when we're coaching youth players is to retention of players. A lot of us are looking to produce players for adult teams. Development over winning, or winning over development. So you need to decide that as a club and as a coach. What is your culture and what's your philosophy? Are you at what age group do you decide to go to keep developing kids over winning, or have you decided now that we're going to focus on winning over development? Challenging players, play them in a variety of positions, praise effort, not talent. Okay, that was something we had last week, and I don't think it should change up to the teenage years. And improve ourselves as coaches and to learn and gain experience. I think that's very important as well, that we realise that a lot of us are taking over these teams. Some of us are taking over these teams because our sons or daughters are playing and no one else would do it. But a lot of us are taking over these teams because they want to improve as coaches, and you want to learn and gain experience. And there's no better way of gaining experience and learning than actually being on there. So Johan Cruyff is featuring again. I think he featured last night with Eamon O'Shea, if anybody watched him. I'm sure someone did, because there was nearly 1,100 people tuned in. So we had a Cruyff quote in as well, and it was in before we seen Eamon O'Shea, so we didn't take it on him. I let all you teams play the same way, like the first team. I always put the emphasis on learning. Sometimes I had the suspicion the youth coaches were more concerned with winning. They cared about their own reputation. I cared only about the interest of the club. When a player with talent couldn't defend, I put him in defence so he could learn. But that could cost us a point. But I didn't care. I was busy developing the player. Okay? So one of the key sentences in that is, I cared only about the interest of the club and the player, right? So that's what Johan Cruyff had in mind. And I think that's what we really should have in mind as well when we're coaching these kids. All right, Dara? So what are our challenges to player development? Okay, so obviously we have that win at all cost attitude from the coaches. So 15 players, we won't make any subs, we're a point up. We're not going to risk losing this game. Lack of communication with players. So that's something we're going to hit on later on. I think Aidan Lawless put in the text box there early on that players want to be involved now. Okay, young kids now are clued in. They're watching matches today, whether it's soccer. There's loads of analysis. They're watching Sky Sports, Monday Night Football. It's all analysis, right? They watch the Sunday game. All analysis as well afterwards. They're learning how the game works. So they want to know, and they actually want to have an input, all right? Feedback. What feedback are we giving to the players? And what are we getting back from them? The best players play all the time in key positions. Willie touched on it. A versus B teams picked instead of purple and gold or mixed ability teams, if you're lucky enough to have 2 teams. Team talks and preparation are all geared to result, not focusing on the progression of skills, progression of a proper attitude, and building teamwork and a team spirit. And then the club's core values. What are your core values? We really focused on this last week. And have you a player pathway? So, and they get lost when the games actually begin. You have a lot of coaches have the greatest plans to put on this fella. We're going to give all these 30 minutes. Next minute, the game is in the melting pot, with 20 minutes to go, and you say to yourself, I might just leave these off the last 5 minutes tonight and see can we win this game. And sometimes we say the right things, but our actions say different. All right. So Dara. So last slide here on core values. Got this from the Shane Keegan presentation a few weeks ago, and just tweaked it a small bit. So if we just create these 4 values alone in our club, our kids would be onto a winner, and our coaches, everybody, I think the club will be onto a winner. The first one is friendships and togetherness. Okay. As the word that's thrown out there a lot, that togetherness of the club. Make and nurture friendships. These can last a lifetime. Feel part of something. So it's my club. These are my colours. There's a sense of pride and belonging to my club. All right. And it becomes your second family. And that's something that we're really trying to get across. Psychological safety. So it's a safe environment. Allowed to make mistakes and try things without any fear. All right. That's when kids will really blossom. All right. They express themselves. We'll all hear that saying. Allow them to make mistakes and become decision makers. Trust between the players and the coaches, even at a young age, as long as they give 100%. So it goes back to praise, effort, and not talent. Confidence. So fill the children with confidence. One thing you came across last night with Eamon O'Shea was, I bet he fills his players with confidence. He's got a great relationship with his players, and he fills them with, they're brimming with confidence when they play for him. Create an atmosphere of warmth behind every young person who believes in themselves as a parent or coach who believed in them first. And I think we've all had that up through the years. Create a learning environment in your club. So players and coaches are expected to continually develop, improve, but at their own pace. Demanding but a fun environment and have that player pathway. And that's something that we're rolling out all through the clubs is the player pathway, the tourist player pathway. Just age appropriate training and what we should be training at each age group along the way. So if we can get all that sorted into our club, we're on to a winner straight away. If that's what our club is based on, well, then we can move on to the pitch and we can start making our teams really, really competitive and make them a really strong club going forward and developing players for your adult and youth teams. All right, so moving on, Dara. And we're back to Willie there now.
Yeah, just before we come on to me, I'm going to ask you 2 questions in a row, and I want you to use the chat box again. The first one is, there was 4 core values Anthony put up there. So friendships, psychological safety, confidence, and a learning environment. Can you mark your club out of 4? So if you feel your club does all those 4, put in 4. If you feel your club does none, put in 0. Can you just put in a number how much your club, or even your setup, you think you achieve with the players in your club? That are you 4, 4, 4? Good, Claire. Good, Connor. 2, Karina. 3. Thanks, Brian. 3. 4. Okay, they're good numbers. 2, 3. Very good. Well, that's good to see. So there seems to be a lot of it going on in the club. I suppose we always see instances maybe where it doesn't happen, and that maybe stays in our mind more so than the positive. Just the next question before we move on to the pathway is, does your club, sorry, you're the coach now, does your club have a player pathway? Do you know it? And do you adhere to it? So just give me a yes or no or a thumbs up. So are you aware of your club's player pathway, and do you follow it? So we have 3 no's and 1 yes so far. Yes and a no. So a mixed bag. No. Thanks, Paul. Kind of, don't really follow it. Good, Fergus. That's probably the most common answer. Yes from Richie, no from Carl, and a thumbs up. So yes. Okay, so what we're seeing there is a mixed bag. Some clubs have a player pathway, some don't have a player pathway. And even if they do, we're not sure if we really follow it. So the one thing I would say to you is, and Leinster running this out as Anthony touched on, is the tourist player value. So, you know, tourist is the Irish for journey, and each letter has a value. So T is testing and challenging. U is understand the player centred at it. R is resembles the game. A is as many players involved at all times, and S should be fun or should be enjoyable. So, and we would encourage every club to write a really, really strong player pathway. Present it to the whole club. Get your chairman, coach, and officer, present it to the whole club. We can help you with that in Wexford coaching and game staff. And then if each manager just followed that pathway, your players would be in a fantastic position by the time they got to minor and headed towards adult. So, and I always use the reference of a school that, you know, teachers in both primary and secondary school have to follow curriculum. They can't just come in and make it up as they go along. So a junior infant kid has to start with the junior infant curriculum and they have to follow it the whole way up. So that's their pathway. That's an education pathway. But that if we can get that into players and into clubs, your players will follow a really, really strong and stringent pathway that brings them and will get the best out of them as they go along in their older ages. So Torres is a fantastic resource. I think Leinster GAA are leading the way as the provinces in terms of this. So if we just roll it on, Dara, thanks. So there's 5 stages of coaching. We touched on the first 3 last week. So we're going to just touch on the last 2 today. So the 13 to kind of 17 plus. So our 3 top age groups. So from 13 to 15, we have learning about positions. So the principles of play and applying good game sense increase. And then at minor and going up that, we're learning to perform. So that we're combining all aspects of performance, including decision making, higher physical demands of the game, and coping with competition. The one thing I would stress is we can't go on to stage 4 or stage 5 if the pathway hasn't been followed in stage 1, 2, and 3. So if the club at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 aren't doing the work, you're going to be trying to fix that when they get to teenage years, and therefore slowing down, adding in tactics, adding in gameplay, getting the players to understand positions and movements and how you want them to play, because you're so focused on teaching the boy how to kick with his left foot or how to catch the ball in the air or, you know, how to jab lift the ball at speed and take your 4 to 6 steps with it, that we can no longer move on to the stuff you want to move on to. And I suppose if there's any minor coaches online tonight or even under 15 coaches on tonight, can you just put a thumbs up if that sounds something that you've come across, or a thumbs down that, you know, you're trying to fix skills so much that you can't actually maybe go on to the stuff you've done? Just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I'd say that's common practice. I would see that as common practice around the place. And it's like we're focusing our training on the technical side of the game more so than actually what the game is about, technical team play, you know, psychological focus, everything. So we've Connor, coach Limerick under 20s. Big issues was lack of bilateral skills. Excellent, Connor. So using, you know, the use of left, right, everything that goes with it, really good. So we just move on, Dara, to the player pathways. So we have player pathway 13 to 15. What I want you to do now is just take a minute, read it yourself. So we have a hurling section, a football technical section, what they should be able to do at 13 to 15, the physical demands of the game and the game specific. And what I'm going to do is I might just ask you a question on it in a minute after you read it. Is that fair enough? So just take a quick glance of it yourself without me reading it to you. Okay, so you've had a quick glance over that, and I'll ask you to do with the next one as well. Is, I suppose, if I even ask you, you have a 14-year-old, so he's in his first year under 15. You know, he's after coming up to you. Okay, are you aware of a coach how you can develop all the players strength-wise? Do you do any strength work? Is it a part of your physics? Is it a part of your pathway or your plan? So we look at their strength here. It says body weight, circuit training, upper body, legs, back, mobility, athletic development, all that sort of stuff. Okay, to build stamina, are we running players or are we putting them into 3v1 games? You know, in terms of the technical skills, even if we go on to the tackle, you know, are they understand how to tackle correctly? Has it been taught to them yet? Do they know how to hook and block correctly? Okay, so if we follow the player pathway, and Anthony used this analogy last week, and I firmly believe it is, if you can visualize yourself as a coach, as the bus driver, and for the 2 years you're over the under 15s, you're driving that bus, and there's 24 players on that bus. By the time you drop them off at minor in 2 years' time and let them off the bus, first of all, is there 24 players still on the bus, or are we down to 16 players? Are we hemorrhaging players? Okay, ask yourself why that's happening. And are we coaching the age-appropriate skills that are on this player pathway that we can do? If any of you aren't sure about the player pathway or what it is, or are we on the question, these documents, we all have these and we can help you with them as well. So that's the biggest thing you have to ask yourself as you go along. So Dara, just flick to minor. So again, we're learning to use the ball well. Now we're really getting into the, I suppose at 15 years as well, you're really getting into kind of the learning to use the ball well. So now your coaching identity should come out in terms of how you want the team to play. So in everything that you do, are they able to do it? So if you want to employ a tactic, if you want to employ 6-2-6, you're going to play 6 up front and you're going to have fast lads in the full forward and you're going to create space. Are the outfield players comfortable kicking the ball on the run, left and right? Are they in hurling the same? Are they able to do accurate pass? What's their first touch like? You know, has that all been developed? Are we working on it in training? Are we following that pathway? And again, and I suppose every club is in this situation since the age grades have changed, is you have to remember when you're coaching a 17-year-old now, next year he's an adult. He is going into a senior, intermediate or junior setup that is going to probably employ weights training. It's going to employ speed training. It's going to employ hard slogging. It's going to, it's going to be of a really, really high standard. So we have to try and ensure that they're ready to go into that. Maybe maturity-wise, they probably mightn't be there mentally yet, but in terms of their technical skill and their probably physical foundations should be there. I suppose that's the word. Foundation should be there in the athletic development side of it. So just move it on, Dara. Thanks. So just quickly, and we went through this last week, and then we kind of go into our bulk of what tonight is about, is the role of a coach. So you guys are the coach, and you guys play a massive role. And the way I'd kind of phrase it to you is, a teacher is a trained person to teach a subject. So I think Brendan O'Sullivan was on. I'm not sure what subject you teach, Brendan, but say Brendan taught geography. Brendan has to be a master in geography for 40 minutes and he gets paid for it. Okay? And the kids look up to him. Well, you guys have these players 3 times a week for an hour and a half. So you have them for 4.5 hours a week to 5 hours a week. And you are, in their eyes, you are their teacher in terms of their favorite subject. So their favorite subject is GAA, and you are their teacher of that. So as Keith Ricken said, I don't know if we said this last week as well, but if any of you didn't watch his presentation, please go onto YouTube and watch his presentation from this year's coaching conference. He had no PowerPoint. He had a little book with him, just a little diary book with him. And everything that comes to his head, he wrote it down. So Keith Ricken is the Cork under-20 football manager when the All-Ireland went the year before. And he says, you own their sorrow and you own their joy. So every player that you come to, he says, you own their sorrow and you own their joy. And there's one story, I suppose, I want to tell, and he said it was his golden moment. He said they were playing in the All-Ireland final, and they were 1-6. They were playing Dublin. They were 1-6 there were 6 points and no score down, and Dublin got a goal, and it was 1-6 to nothing. There were 9 points down. Looked like they were going to get hammered. And the centre forward sprinted from his position, and he sprinted to the goalkeeper, and he just said to him, toast. And Keith Ricken said, this was my golden moment in coaching. And the keeper just calmly put down the ball and found the Cork man. And he said, what does toast mean? So he said, I had told the players that a story about myself. And, he obviously got a great relationship with the players. But he said he went for a colonoscopy. And he said after the colonoscopy, the doctor came in and the family were around and they were all worried anyway. And the kids were starving. So the toast and the tea was left out. And he said, if anyone's had an operation, he said, you'll never have a nicer cup of tea and toast than after an operation. So he said the kids were starving. He said, Harry, you go on and get the toast. You eat the toast. So the doctor came in. He was starving, he said, absolutely starving. And he said, the doctor said to him, okay, Keith, we're a little bit worried. You might have cancer here as well after going inside and the camera's inside you. And the doctor said, is there anything you want to say? And he says, can I have 2 slices of toast? And basically what he was teaching is that we can only face exactly what's in front of us in the next few minutes. There was no point him panicking about 3 months down the line or a month down the line and worrying his wife and everything like that. He said the only thing he could worry about was that he was starving and he wanted toast. So basically he told the players this, and the centre forward sprinted back in Portlaoise in the All-Ireland final and told the keeper that toast, relax, we can only worry about the next ball. We can't worry about if we're going to win the cup now. We can't worry about what's going to be said at halftime. We can't worry about it to the end. So therefore his role was done. He had done it and the players took ownership of it. Just a simple, funny story, but watch that. So if we just roll it on there, Dara. So you as a coach set the mood, that your energy, enthusiasm, and how you make them feel. And I just spoke about that with Keith Rick, and he obviously had a fantastic bond with the players. But how you make them feel, that if you're bursting and hopping with energy, that you're, every drill you're hopping in and out of, and the eyes are bulging, and you can see it probably in Wexford at the minute with Davy. The energy from Davy is nearly after being exuded onto the players. He's bulging, he's bouncing, he's going from left to right, and they're doing it as a result. So how do you make the kids feel every night? So are they leaving feeling, geez, that's brilliant. I love going up to the pitch and I love being part of it. I don't want to drop off. We know the dropout rates of teenagers are massive. So we don't want to do that. We want to keep all the kids. As I said, the bus, if there's 24 on it at the start, we want 24, maybe even more dropping off at the end. So how do you make them feel every night? How are they leaving? Is it too serious? Is it, boring? And they, as Anthony said, the kids know. If you're after doing a drill and then you're going to take 4 or 5 minutes to put up another drill, or a game, then they're going to lose interest. They're just not going to love being up there. So you as a coach, do you have a growth mindset? So a coach must be willing to constantly upskill, learn, and personally develop him or herself for the betterment of the players. Are you doing the Wexford, the courses, foundation, level 1, level 2? Are you attending tourist workshops? Are you doing online learning like tonight? With fair play to you, all of your here, so you are. Are you listening to podcasts? I have done more learning in the last 6-7 weeks from podcasts. It's incredible the amount of podcasts. I mentioned it last week and I mentioned it again, Shane Keegan's How to Win at Dominoes. He's Billy Walsh released today. He had Stuart Lancaster last week. He had Gary Keegan the week before. You name it, you can listen and learn from the best in the game. Books, what books are you reading? Are you reading, at home half an hour? Are you taking notes? Are you on webinars? Well, you are tonight, so fair play to you. Again, just touching, are you as a coach following the player pathway? Are you planning for the year ahead, what we're going to work on it each month and how we're going to work on it? Are you setting up tactics for the team and so forth? Anthony, you just put up the Keith Ricken thing, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, deadly. So the link is there for anyone that's going to copy and paste it and save it. Just move on, Dara. And I just hand you back to Anthony now.
Okay, guys. So hopefully you don't have to tune into Keith Ricken straight away. You can stick with us for the next half hour if you can. So games-based coaching and drills-based coaching. So it's not versus, right? There's a big thing at the moment saying games-based coaches versus drills-based, but I'm a firm believer in you need both. You need both, but we obviously need to get more games-based coaching into our training. Just to run through some of the headings there: increased enjoyment, no isolated drills, so standing in lines not happening, learning through mistakes, there's no limitations. You're putting the kids into realistic game situations, and that's what we're going to show now shortly. Repetition without repetition, so practicing a technique, e.g. passing in context where the pass is different and adaptable every time. Okay, it increases decision making, as I touched on, and basically what do the kids want to do, and that actually takes us into the next slide, Dara, just on to summarize games-based coaching again. So both games and drills have a role in our coaching. They can work together and are not enemies. So it's up to us as coaches to learn when it's best to use a drill and best to use a game in our training sessions. Games have more touches, similar movements and context to matches, but more fun. Challenge the young players to become their own decision makers while focusing on the skills of the game. So throw them into the melting pot. Put them in, and as Eamon O'Shea said last night, do a 9v5. Players will all look at you and say, oh, there's 9 versus 5 here. Let them figure it out. Let's see how they can get on. They'll probably panic and they'll make mistakes in the first few minutes and give away the ball, but they'll eventually start to find a space. They'll start finding their player. Okay, they mightn't hold on to the ball forever, but they will find it. Drills, they're often linear. Example, 4 players are often getting limited touches, can be boring, but do have a place, especially with younger players at times. There is a place for both. All right, Dara? So this leads into an interesting, so when I knew we were doing this, I decided to survey the Wexford minor team last week and over the weekend, and what I did was I asked them to rank 1 to 5 what part of the session they prefer. So it was very, very interesting, and I actually learned something from this myself. So the 5 parts I broke down the session into is a pretty common session. You do a warm-up, you might spend some time doing skills, then you might do small-sided games, you might do a full game, and some people will either put running in during the session, or they'll leave the running out and do it in the games, or else you do conditioning and running at the end. Okay, so I asked them 5 topics, divide them up into how you prefer. So if you can look at the pie chart on the right, running obviously was the least favourite. One young fella out of 30 something replied running was his favourite. So I don't know. I haven't come across it too many before, but obviously he enjoys it. I think he's from an athletics background, so he really, really enjoys it because he's very strong at it. The warm up was second most liked, which is not really a surprise either. The skills, surprising enough, 6 or 7 boys actually put down that the skills were the most enjoyable part of the session, and that they really, really enjoyed doing it. But the one thing that really stood out to me was it was 50-50 between full game and small-sided games. Now, I had thought beforehand that I knew the answer to this and I would be able to draw up my own pie chart. But I asked 7 or 8 of them that had said the small-sided games, and this quote that I have in the bottom corner is an exact quote that one of the boys replied to me. And if you can see it there, I'll read it out. He says, well, I asked him why you prefer small-sided games rather than a full game. And he says, well, I play cornerback or fullback for my club, so I don't get on the ball much in a full game. But in a 5v5, I can get involved in the game more and get on the ball more. And that summed the whole thing up for me straight away. I thought, well, here's a boy who's 17 years of age, and I'm not going to tell him how to do it. He's telling me how it should be done. That he's the player. I'm the coach. I've had my time playing at that level. That's the way he wants to be coached. So I learned something really, really powerful from that. And I think it's something that we can pick up on going forward. So basically it was 50-50 between a full game and small-sided games. And it was a real surprise to me that full game wasn't probably 70 to 80%. So I just really think about that cornerback standing in the corner, and what do we tell him to do? Right, mark your man, don't let him score. Pull out of him, drag out of him, harass him, do whatever you can, don't make him score. I don't care if you touch the ball. I don't care if you get better. I don't care if you use your left foot or your right foot. I don't care if you strike the ball off your left hand. I don't care if you win 4 clean balls in the air. I just want you to stop your man scoring. So he's 16 or 17 years of age. Think about the development that we're doing to that boy. So that's why he wants to play a 5v5, so he can express himself. All right? So that's just something that I found very powerful. And maybe if you want to take a picture of it or note it down in your mind and use it going forward. So I'll ask Dara to move it on. Okay, so the main part of tonight, what we want to try to do is different from last week is, I want to ask you the question as coaches, okay? There's 100 odd people on here tonight. Do you have a basic game plan, right? And now we're going to ask you questions soon, so don't answer these yet. But the question we're going to ask now, before you answer it, is do you have a basic game plan and how do you implement it? So we're going to really, really keep it very basic for tonight, and we won't get involved in anything too complicated. So 3 main parts to have a basic game plan should be your restarts. So whether it's hurling or football, your kickouts and your puckouts. Your defensive shape, and your attacking shape. Now the very, very basic one to work on for the 3 of them would be, and people might say, I don't have a game plan at all. But if you play 15 on 15, that's a game plan. But the point we're trying to get across tonight is, do you coach this into your kids? Do you coach a 15 and 15 into your kids? Do you coach the strengths that we need to have to play that style of football or hurling? So do you go long or short? So tonight we're going to focus on the kick out is long, all right? It's a long kick out to the midfielders. That's what we're going to focus on. That's our game plan for tonight. Our defensive shape is man-to-man, no sweepers. Everyone's tracking their own man. It's 1v1. And our attacking shape is going to be 6 forwards, number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, in their normal positions like they're lined out on a team board. And that's the way we're going to play for tonight's session. And then we're going to ask you and see, what do you do to coach that? All right, so Dara, moving on to the first one. So putting our coaching hats on now, I want you to imagine you're in the field or you're at home planning for tonight's or tomorrow's session. Your first scenario is our kick out or our puck out for next week's hurling game or next week's football game or championship in a month's time. We're going to go and we're going to hit the ball long to our midfielders. All right. Now I want to keep this very basic. So I'm going to ask you for the next 60 seconds, 90 seconds to keep throwing in as many words as possible. I want everybody to get involved. What must we coach and what must we focus on in training, skills-wise? Okay. What must we coach into these boys and girls going forward? Okay. So Derek has started us off at movement. So let's give it 60 seconds if we're going to hit the ball long to our midfielders. Okay, so long kicking, catching high, very simple. Exactly, Sarah. The kick, striking, ball winning, breaks, very important, David, yeah. Breaking ball, Damien, breaking ball, Nick Whelan, aware of space, movement, creating space, strength, ball going into midfield pocket, midfielders running into midfield pocket space, support, first to react, creating space on the wings, high ball, fielding, breaking ball again, start and finish position, high catch, breaking ball, timing and runs, movement. Okay, catching from Damien, space from Alan, create space for the ball to kick into, signals, space, movement again. Okay, brilliant, right? The kick out, very important. The actual kick out, the puck out accuracy. Well done, Stephen. Angle of runs, reading the play. Okay, so this is brilliant feedback. All right, so Dara, just to click on to what we have down. So a basic, the goalkeepers are to practice the long striking or the kicking and work on an accuracy. All right. If you want a keeper to hit a pocket of space, you've got to let them practice it in training. Okay. If you want the midfielders to be able to win clean ball, you've got to coach high fielding. Okay. If it hits the ground, it's breaking ball. Who can come out with it first? So you've got to coach that in your training sessions. Do you do breaking ball drills? Okay. Can the players become better at breaking ball? Yes, they can, by practicing it in games-based situations or doing it in drills. Rucks, when the dirty ball is there to be won, do we ever get 4v4 in a little small square, throw the ball in and see who can come out with it? They will improve at it. And then as we've had loads of movement and creating space, okay? And communication actually should be on that as well. And there's loads of other things if you want to take this to a new level and up to adult level that you can break it down. But the point we're trying to get across tonight is if you go out next Friday night, unfortunately it won't be next Friday night, but on Friday in a few months' time, and say to your players, let's hit the kickouts long, okay? And they lose the first 6 kickouts, and what you'll see up and down the field is a manager screaming at the goalkeeper. What are you doing? Why are you hitting it there? Shouting at the midfielders. Will you catch the ball? Will you win the bloody ball? When the ball hits the ground, lads, will you win the breaking ball? And then you have to really evaluate and say to yourself, well, have I actually worked on this? All right. Have I actually done breaking ball drills? Have I done kick out drills? Does the keeper have a simple signal that he's going left or going right? Okay. Do the players know how to create space? So that's the point with everything we do tonight. The point we're trying to get across is if you want to implement a certain style, you've got to coach it, even at a very, very, very basic level. All right, so guys, brilliant start so far. Loads of interaction. We all have our coaching hats on, so I'm going to hand over Willie now to work on defence. So, sorry, apologies, Willie.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very simple breaking ball game for hurling and football. So this is just an idea. This is a simple game you'll see up and down the country. If you've one goalkeeper has hurling a sliotar, a bag of sliottars, or he's a whole lot of footballs. It's a 4v4 on the left-hand side. It's a 4v4 on the right-hand side. If you have 2 keepers, they alternate sides. The keeper delivers the ball into the 4v4. Whoever wins the ball gets a point. Very simple. Okay? So now they're working on high fielding under pressure. They're working on breaking ball. Okay? The keeper's working on delivery of the ball. And it's a game-based situation. Now I'm going to ask you really quickly again for 60 seconds. How can you progress this game to make it more look like a game? All right, how can you make it more games-based and bring in more players? All right, how can you progress this game? I'll give you 30 seconds to throw in as many words as you can, please. Overload, Connor, excellent. So overload, maybe a 6v4, make it harder. Create space that can't be entered before the ball. Brilliant, Paul. Movement, okay. Merge them into one, make it an 8v8, excellent. Bring in runners. So you could have 2 backs beside the keeper and they're trying to transition the ball up the field. When the ball is won, play to a full forward line, excellent. All right, whoever wins possession attacks the goal, Alan. Well done, JJ. Geraldine, 3 inside forwards, hit the ball into him. Okay, so now we're starting to think, narrow the space, says Damien. All right, so make it tighter, make it harder to win that ball, make the players under more pressure and put them in that environment that they're going to see in the match. Barry, have a goal further up the pitch. Keeper must find a player who must hit the target up the field. Always must attack the keeper's goal. Brilliant. Okay. Use poles for target for kicks. Team that wins the ball needs to attack as a group and score. So what we're getting from this is, imagine if you just took 2 forwards up to the top of the field, all right, or 3 forwards up and had a 3v3, and now you actually have something similar like you're asking the boys and girls to play. A long kick out, and now you've got 3 forwards in the inside line, so you're telling your players, if you win the ball, deliver it long into the inside line. And that's how you're asking them to play in championship in a month's time. So now you're after actually working on it, and the players will understand and they'll buy into it more. Okay, so really well done, guys. Sorry for cutting across you, Willie. I forgot about that one. And I'll hand it over to Willie then.
No. So I suppose when myself and Anthony were putting this together, we were sort of laughing at times. We've all been on the sideline with the coach, and the coach is roaring at the, I didn't tell you to do that, or he's turning around to the crowd. What are they at? Sure, Jesus, they don't know what they're at out there. And I suppose what we're trying to get away from is that coach probably never coached anything they were doing. They might have done drills, played a bit of a match, gone home, but they never actually coached what Anthony was doing. So we're going to go on. There's 2 more scenarios. There's one with me, and then you're back to Anthony. So the next scenario is the defenders are being asked to go man on man. What must we coach and focus on in training? So we're playing no sweepers. We're playing 6 on 6, 6 backs, half the mark to forward. So you as a coach now, there's a mic coming in there somewhere. Yeah, thanks. So you as a coach are after telling your team, all the backs, that you're to pick up your man, you're marking your man, and that's our tactic. Now, you mightn't do that in real life, but that's what we're doing for the base of tonight. What do we have to coach and focus on training if that's what we're telling our defence? So just take 60 seconds right into the chat box. Man on man, what are we telling our backs to do? Away you go. Jeez, they're coming in too fast. Winning own ball, proper tackling wisely, yeah, out in front. 4Ds, delayed, denied, dispossessed, develop. Come on, Ali. 1v1s, Al, brilliant. Get goal side. Turn and tackle in football, out in front. Defend the goal. Shadowing, very good. Concentrate. Good man, Brian. First touch, yeah. Inside, goal side, and tight. Thanks, Slide. Touch tight. How to delay for sport. Airtight. Hooking, blocking, goal side, very good. Have a chat together before matching the backs. Beware of danger, force mistakes. Communicative. Excellent. Thanks, lads. Really, really great interaction. Everyone's fairly tuned in. So, Dara, if we just put up the scenario. So we have individual defense. So one-on-one tap. We some of us hit on. Hook and block and harassing. Do we coach that? Do we actually coach the kids how to hook? Honestly, are we teaching them how to block, or do we presume Asher did that at under 9, so I don't need to do that with him again? Near hand tackle, and you can see that's not only football now. Andy will talk about the near hand tackle, and we showed a video of it last week. But you see it in hurling now. When a person's going to pick up the ball, the free hand is in slapping the other hand. We're all coaching. There's no point saying we're not. Positioning, yeah, exactly. Reading the game. Do I go in front? Do I go behind? That's for me. So how do I deal with him? Footwork, again, touching on the pace and the speed, and attacking the ball. There's nothing better than seeing a cornerback sprinting out the yard in front of his man and take off and move forward and creating the overlap. So, but have they got ball handling skills in the first touch? Are they communicating with each other? Are they covering each other? So if somebody's gone, the cornerback has gone sprinting up, will the wing back take his position? And I suppose one of the biggest things now, it's more in hurling than it is in football, is the ruck ball. So, 4v4 crammed into a little area, and everyone is fighting for that ball. How do we win it? Okay, so we're just going to look at a few videos. I'm going to talk over it here now. So just before we play it, Dara, so this is taken from Martin Fogarty and the Kilkenny under-15 development squad. So he's teaching them how to. It's kind of a defensive coaching session, one-on-ones that we're working on, but he's teaching them the skills of the game. So he's going to progress it from what we'd say, Anthony said at the start, games-based, but also we need to do the drills as well. So he kind of does a technical drill at the start, kind of warm them up, get their eye in. Then he brings it to a games-based, and then he brings it into a full, kind of a small-sided game. So we're just going to look at this, and I'll pause it as we go along and ask for discussion. Thanks, Dara.
Looking is all about keeping your eye on the ball.
So here we look at, if you saw it first, they were doing Dara, just go back to the very start and just pause it there, just maybe a second into it, just so I show it. Sorry, Dara. It could be even further back there. I'm going to go back for you. If it doesn't, it's okay. He just had him lined up and he was following them hooking, and so he's teaching them how to do the correct technique, left side, right side, and then he brings them on to blocking. So now he has them with the big net behind the goal. There's one lad striking, one lad getting the block. So teaching them the correct technique. Yeah, play it on there. After messing it up, and has to go back. Sorry there. Yeah, so there's the hook and there's the block, and he's teaching them the technical skill one-on-one. So look, it's one back, one forward, or one can be a forward actually. I suppose most corner forwards, half forwards, everyone is in on this as well. Now he does it. Yeah, they hand passing the ball, so progression. So they give him the ball and they charge straight out at him, and they practice the block. Now he picks it and turns, and they must get a point. Now they're bringing it to a small bit of a game based. So jab lift, turn, get the block. So teaching one-on-one how to tackle correctly. Yep, here we have it again, going for scores. Now he brings him into kind of a match situation. So the ball is hit between the two of them. He has to make the right choice. What's he going to do? The defender has to get up on him. Okay, same again here. Now he brings him into a kind of a game based. So what they have to do here is just pause it a sec, Cara. Okay, they have to allow him get a hook to practice the hook. Then he must throw the ball out in front of him, or when it drops after trying to strike it, then it's everything is on. So the forward is in the blue here, the back is in the black. So the forward now must get the ball and either work a goal or a point, and the back now has to decide, I'm 1v1 versus my man. The corner forward has won the ball. Do I block him? Do I hook him? Do I foul him? What do I do here? What do I do in this situation? And just play it on there.
The striker, allowing his opponent to hook him to build his confidence and technique.
So there we go. So there's the hook. Now the ball is dropped, and now it's every day. Now it's back versus forward. So the back gets a flick, picks the ball, and is going to drive out with it. Okay. Within a match, you drive out with it. So here we go again. There's the hook. Now a score 1v1. So are we coaching that into our if that's our tactics? And there's the goal. Now if we just pause it there a second, Dara. Okay. Is there anything you see wrong with maybe how training is set up there? Or how you could, how you could improve that a little bit? Just right into the chat box. If you've noticed anything just when those games and drills were going on for a second. Brilliant, Wesley. Yeah, brilliant, Barry. There's too many waiting, and I would like to, I suppose, defend. It's great that y'all noticed that. It's Martin Fogarty was only doing this for video purposes, and he actually says on it that he would probably only use 6 players or 6-on-6 down here, and he would have another group working in the middle, another group working at the other end of the player. So we've all spotted there's way too many players standing around. But to be fair, that's not actually what he would do in a normal session. It was only for the purposes of the video. But yeah, so play it on there. Well spotted, everyone.
Side of the goals gives a good mix of working and recovery.
There we are, 1-on-1.
Here we have a 6v6.
And then he just brings it on then to a mini game. So he's gone from the technical skill of blocking and hooking. Then he brought it on to like kind of, shooting for points doing it. Then he brought it on to they have to get the hook. And then it's 1v1. And now he's brought on a 6v6 across the pitch, a small-sided game in how we would do it. So everyone has to mark someone and you have to take responsibility for your own player. It's match-like. There's loads of touches. There's loads of room for forwards to move into. The backs are blown. There we have again 1v1. Are we tracking runners? Are we leaving our men behind? The overlap is created. So it's bringing it into a game. There's the hook at the very end again when he's going for his point. So it's just how we can develop training. So if we're coaching 1v1s, a back has to take care of a forward, which many of us are. They're still in hurling, there's not as many, there's very few teams playing sweeper still or extra man back. We might be doing it hiddenly, but it's not exact. So we are expecting our backs to mark the forward. So if we're doing that, are we teaching them the skills of the game? Do we bring it into a game-based scenario? Do we bring it into a small-sided game? And then can they actually implement it when we're out on a pitch for 15-on-15? So that's the second scenario. So I'm going to hand you to Anthony now for the last scenario tonight.
Thanks, Willie. Okay, so now we have our kickouts and our puckouts started. We have our backs are all over the men. The forwards can't win a thing. So obviously now we need the important part. We need to score on the far side. So our third scenario is we're playing with 6 forwards, all in their normal positions. So what must we coach our forwards, and what must we coach everybody really? What must we coach now and what must we focus on in training to try and implement our game plan of having 6 forwards. Okay, give you 60 seconds again. Coming in already with brilliant movement. Mad Wasps, Fergus O'Dwyer, well done.
Taking player on.
Movement, creating space, kicking accuracy, well done. Shooting, well done, JJ. Kill the ball, Orla, excellent. More than one run at a time, Damien, excellent. Diagonal runs, quick delivery, movement, timing of the run, shooting. How to create space, delivery the ball in, play to your strengths, loop, yeah, for the shot, tracking runners' backs, running off the shoulder, quick delivery. There's one thing there I'm looking for now, hasn't come up yet.
Shane Carley said a very important one there, Anthony Mindigo, I think.
Yeah, what was that?
He said winning your own ball.
Oh yeah, well that's exactly what I was looking, taking the player on, excellent from Maroney. Win their own ball, yeah, very important. Okay, especially if you're going to play 6v6 and even the opposition might end up dropping someone back. Diagonal runs. So Fergus, I was just going to ask you to tell everybody about the Mad Wasp, but you have to put it up. Mobility, anticipation, determination with accuracy, space and penetration. Okay, so that's brilliant, Fergus. Out in front, receive the ball under pressure. Excellent, first touch, there we go. Okay, so that's the first person that's wrote in there. First touch, making the ball stick is what we call it. Pushing up for the kickouts, giving it to a player in best position. Lose your back. Okay, so well done, Carl. I think that's the first point. Separation, some of us call it. Basically getting away from your man. And like, we have to ask ourselves, can we improve players at that? Can we coach that? Of course we can. Okay, Dara, so throw up the few answers that we had. Okay, so just a few basic points. Separation, so losing your man is very important. Creating space, movement, so sometimes a selfish run, I'm just going to pull my defender out of here so the full forward can make a run in behind me and win the ball. First touch, handling and making it stick. So if the ball is delivered into me and I go down to bend down to pick it up, with my hurl, is it bouncing away from me 2 or 3 times, ball is gone. All right, if you can make a first touch into the hand, now you're on to a winner. Winning 50-50 balls, as Shane said, taking on your man. Obviously, if you want to play 3 inside and you're delivering in quick ball, well then you need to have forwards who can take on their man because you will get goal chances and scoring chances. Evasion, so staying away from the tackler. Shooting is obviously very, very important, and communication. So calling for the ball to be delivered in, play without fear. Someone has put in exactly. If you want to play without fear, you must coach that in your training sessions. You must tell the players that. Okay. So obviously we can say at training, lads, I want you to go out tonight and express yourselves next week in a match. A fella tries to hit a long ball in over the top of a back that's marking from your front. The back wins, it comes up the field and they get a point. And now the coach is eating the player for hitting the ball in long when you told him to play with freedom. All right. So if he's 16 years of age, if he tries to hit that ball 20 or 30 times a season or 50 times a season and then 50 times, 100 times in training, well then maybe when it comes to a county semi-final or a first round of championship, he'll pull that pass off because he's been allowed to express himself growing up. So again, the point we're trying to get across is if you want to play this way, coach it into your sessions. Set up the drills. You've got to come up as a coach with your drills, with your games, with your small-sided games and with your scenarios to help the players get better at the way you want to play. Connor says, work the ball into the correct scoring area before getting shot off. Think of the dubs. Exactly, Connor. Very rarely to shoot outside the scoring area. Be aggressive, encourage flair. Exactly, encourage flair in your players at that age. Okay, Dara, you can, Willie, do you need to say anything there?
No.
Okay, so what we're going to show now is a video of how we could actually train this. So this came from Colin Nally. So just like you have a hat tip from Colin Nally for letting us use the video. So play away, Dara. So very basic. This can be used in hurling or football. You've got 3 lanes, probably about 15 meters apart. 3 servers delivering. They're actually, some of the balls are horrible balls, but as Shane Carley pointed out, you've got to win your own ball. Sometimes it won't come nicely in front. The player might miss hit it, it could go over your head, could be bouncing at your feet. But the more you practice it, the better the hands will become. When you win the ball, you take on your man. The middle lane goes for goals, so you're working the keeper, and the outside 2 lanes is 1v1 forwards versus defenders. Okay, if I was playing and someone had that set up, I'd love to be playing that. Even as a back, as a forward or goalkeeper, I'd love to be involved in that drill. Okay, so loads of touches of the ball, loads of movement, and it's games based. All right, and this clip just shows how it implemented in a game. This is a minor football game. Long ball delivered in. Obviously, the manager told him to do it. Player wins his own ball. And now, in fairness, it was an exceptional finish off the left foot. But as a coach, imagine how you feel after you training a couple of nights a week, implementing this style of play, whatever style. And we're not saying everybody should go out and play 15 on 15 in long ball, 50-50 balls. We're just saying if you do this kind of training or whatever kind of coaching you have to do with your players and it pays off, imagine the buzz in the dressing room afterwards. Even if you won or lost, as a coach, you can go to your players and say, didn't that work really well? What were we working on for the last 3 weeks? And the players will say to you, yeah, we're working on winning our own ball. And what did you do? I won my own ball. You got a brilliant goal. And we lost by 7 points. It doesn't matter. You express yourself. You won a brilliant ball. You got a great score for your team. What we've been working on in training, you actually showed tonight how it's done. So there's how we can build a relationship as a coach with our players as well. Okay, allowing them to express themselves. But when you do something in training and it pays off, now then you go and let the players know about it. Because you might have coached it, but they're the ones that pulled it off. Okay, so Dara, just keep it on. So before we open up for a few questions, we were trying to get done in an hour, so we're nearly bang on time. Just the last one. Someone said need to run. Great presentation. Anyway, thanks, lads. So summary of a basic game plan. So work on your restarts, so your kick outs, your puck outs. Work on breaking ball and how you're feeling. Now you have a kick out or a puck out strategy. As limited or basic it might be, you have one and you've worked on it at training. Work on your individual defense, 1v1s, and work on your tackling and blocking. Work on delivering the ball into the forwards and allow them to practice winning the ball in a pressurized environment. Okay, now you have forwards who have been trained and coached to play 6v6 and win their own dirty ball. So use the drills to coach the skills and then use games to check for learning, understanding and improvement. The last one is, we all know, practice, practice, practice. So encourage the players to practice, practice, practice as much as possible. And if we as coaches only take those 5 things and implement them into our training sessions, now we'll have a team, even at under 13 level, at 15 level or under 17, or even up to adults. Now we have a team who know what they're doing when they go out. And what we've actually done with most of that there is we've worked on a lot of skills of the game that we really, really need to flourish and to express ourselves at this game. We've actually worked on them in our training sessions, and the players are now comfortable doing these type of skills and doing them under pressure. So that's the point we're trying to get across tonight. I hope everybody really enjoyed it. Willie will probably summary his up as well. But again, the key message is, if you're asking the players to do something in a match, make sure that you've coached it in your training sessions. Okay, so I'll hand you back to Willie then.
Yeah, just before I kind of summarize my points and stuff, I suppose, just talking about tactics there. So the tactics that we went through for those 3 videos was 6-2-6. Okay, so if you're a coach and you play 7, so you bring one forward back into the defense, you might play 7-3-4. You might play one lad out in midfield to the half forward line, one midfielder back into the half back line, and you might only 4 up front. You've got to coach like that. So if the forwards are going to be 5-on-4, 6-on-4, you got to coach the forwards, get used to this. Also, you got to coach the backs that if you're coming out with the ball, you're going to have a little more time on it because we have an extra man. So how do we pick out our forwards? How do we work a score? And I think that's something that we probably don't see enough of. We tell them what to do, but we don't coach them how to do it. And like for example, in hurling now, you would see an awful lot of short puck outs. It's kind of been in football a lot longer. But when you're practicing the short puck out, you might have the goalie and you might have them hitting the backs or the midfielders or the cornerback. But do you actually work out then when the cornerback gets it? What does he do next? Where does everyone else go after that? So the cornerback gets it, and Carl Barrett gets it from Brian Hogan. Carl Barrett comes out with it. What does the rest of the team do? What does Ronan Maher do? What does Paul Maher do? What does Brendan Maher do? What does Bubbles to the wire at the far end do? Okay, so you got to coach that as you go along. I suppose the biggest thing we wanted to stress tonight was, especially with teenagers, is to keep them interested. You have to develop with them, and as I said, they're clued in. So one, what's the culture we create? Okay, and we'll go through this and say, what's the culture we create in the club? That's your core values. How are you coaching? Is it age approach? That's following a pathway. That's games based. That's age-appropriate training, and then what's your tactics, how you implement them, and go back to the bus scenario. If you have 24 players coming up to the start of the year, really truly try and ensure that there's 24 players getting off the bus in a better position, a happier position, ready to head on to another age group or adult level, whatever it may be. So just to summarise, we said the key factors when coaching: the outside influences, the core values of your club, that's culture, the player pathway, the games-based and drills-based coaching. Anthony's pie graph, that is something that should stick in your head now. 85 to 90% of the kids, the 36 players on the minor football panel this year, have said that they prefer games, small-sided or full-sided, than doing warm-ups, running or drills. So keep that in mind when you're trying to keep players involved, and add a basic game plan, how to implement it. That game plan can go any way you like. At adult level, it can be as complicated or simple as you want. At minor, at under 13 level, there's nothing wrong with 15 on 15. Same with 15s or minors, but are you coaching to it? So look, just thanks for listening, thanks for the engagement, and we'll just look forward to any questions now you want to throw at myself and Anthony, and we'll see if we can answer them.
Just before we go there, really, to the questions, I suppose firstly, on behalf of the coach, I suppose I'd like to thank you yourself, Willie, and Anthony and Dara on behind the scenes there. I think you put together another fantastic webinar, some really good take-home messages from that. I think to thank everyone. The interaction in the chat box was fantastic as well. We're getting really good stuff coming up on the chat box every week, and it's great to see the interaction with the coaches. From our point of view in the Wexford in the coaching office, I suppose, to take home from me, I think of the player pathway. I think we really are pushing this in Wexford. I think that we're trying to give kids, I suppose, the best opportunity for them to reach their potential and to reach the height of their ability, and that comes from the age-appropriate coaching, knowing the player pathway, and trying to get every club in Wexford to have their player pathway and stick to it. And we do need coaches to engage in that, and I think we see from tonight that the knowledge in this room was absolutely brilliant. So again, we are an open office. We'd encourage as much coaches as possible to come to us, and we're here to help and keep engaging with us. And again, you've already said it, Willie, but looking at the sample survey that Anthony did, is a small survey, but you could take so much away from that. Kids these days are unbelievably well clued in. You were part of the workshop we did with, and we're in Wexford here on a youth forum, and blew me away the amount that the teenage kids want to be involved in their coach. They want to have a say in their coaching. They want the coaches to listen to them, and I think that's something that if you can take away from tonight is that let's be open-minded, let's listen to the kids, and that's how we keep them engaged, that's how we keep them improving. So again, just summarize, thanks Willie and Anthony, really, really informative workshop. Thank everyone for interacting, and Dara behind the scenes. And any questions, lads, stick them into the chat box there. Thanks.
Richie has the first question there, Anthony, first. Lads, what percentage of a training session would you recommend be based on athletic development for this particular age group? Do you mean, like Richie, just doing running and just doing kind of S&C stuff, or do you mean like kind of just a full session is spent on athletic development? Just if you want to open your mic there, Richie, you can ask.
Sorry, Willie, can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, just I suppose two ways around it. One would be obviously to block off, your 20 minutes or incorporate it in your warm up or something like that. But I suppose the question, my philosophy on it would be that you would try and include it into some of your games. Obviously, there's some of it you can't do. But I suppose what level of focus would this age group would you consider appropriate to be concentrating on technique and S&C, I suppose, for the want of word, or athletic development? Does that make anything clearer?
No, I suppose, Richie, what I'd say, first of all, the skills are massively important, but also how the move is as well. So what you should try and do is incorporate the athletic development into everything you do. So warm-ups, small-sided games, everything like that. Again, the athletic development is just like the skills. It has a pathway. You know what I mean? Like that. Dara could come in there as well a bit more on that, and maybe he'll talk to you one-on-one on it. Kind of that's Dara's speciality and Shane's. But I wouldn't be at that 13 level. I wouldn't be worrying about we're going to have to block off 30 minutes here to do strength and conditioning with them. That it can be incorporated in everything to do in the warm-ups and stuff like that. But that if you have a kind of an aside running with it is brilliant as well. 15, 17 as well. They should definitely be going on to it. But there's a pathway for that, and they kind of have to get onto it to develop it. I don't know if that has helped you a little bit, but Anthony, do you want to come in on that one?
I just say the same. The first answer I was going to give in, I put it in the warm-ups. I put most of it in the warm-ups. I need to push and pull in the plyos, landing, jumping, technique, starting or stopping. I put it all in the warm-ups, and so at least they're getting at least 15 minutes every training session of doing it. And then, as you said yourself, Richie, I would incorporate the majority of it in small-sided games and training sessions. But any issues that need to be addressed, I'd address them in the warm-ups, definitely.
Paul Gannon has, do you think it's better to coach these over the course of 3 sessions, or is coaching them in a block, maybe 2 weeks, and then touch back on over the season? I suppose from a hurling point of view, Anthony will talk from a football point of view, Paul, which maybe more your one, but from a hurling point of view, I suppose, is you would focus on maybe an area of the game for a 2 or 3 week block. So not solely now. So maybe 15 minutes of every session could be spent on tackling, hooking, blocking, kind of constantly. And then, as you said, come back to it then maybe in a while, because it's in games every day, so that they come back to it. That's kind of the way I would do it. So if you've planned your season well, you know what you need to be able to do. So I'm going to spend 3 weeks on this, 3 weeks focusing on that. Now, when I say focusing, I don't mean the full hour and a quarter. I mean 15 minutes maybe of a session, or 20 minutes of a session, but that it's done in that, and then you come back to it again. And again, if you follow the player pathway, an awful lot of it should be done by the time they get an outside minor. So 13, 15, 17, the technical skills, a lot of them should be there, but you're only kind of fine-tuning them and progressing them. Anthony, from a football point of view?
Exact same. I was going to say, I would spend a couple of weeks working on something. If I really, really want to implement something into a team, I think they need to work on it for like the guts of 2 to 4 weeks, and then revisit it maybe every month. But obviously, because if you're going to tell them in the dressing room, look lads, we worked on this, they need to know that they've worked on it, and it's something that has to be refreshed in your mind constantly. If you're teaching even a subject, obviously you have to keep touching back on something. So yeah, I would do it in a block and then revisit it, but I would sort of implement it in most of my training sessions without actually highlighting the fact. So if it was a kick-out strategy, spend a block of 2 to 4 weeks trying to work on it for 20 minutes every session, and then put it into your training sessions and let them practice in the environment.
Yeah. I think we've only one more question then from John. He says, can you recommend good podcasts? John, I'm going to put the Wexford GAA coaching Twitter account. James Flynn put up, I think there was 8 to 10 fantastic podcasts up there 2 or 3 days ago. So if you go to that and just go through the pictures, you'll find the best podcasts around that we'd recommend. Personally, I listen an awful lot the How to Win at Dominoes, Shane Keegan at the minute, Off the Ball, The Hurler's Life. Ones that kind of interest me. The performance one is excellent as well. Anthony, I don't know if you have any more to that, but they are on the Twitter feed, John.
Yeah, Stuart Lancaster done a couple with, now it's getting away maybe from what we're working on tonight, but I think as a coach or a manager, everyone would be interested. And he done one with Off the Ball called Leaders Questions, and he invited in people, so they're already available there to listen to as well. So really give you most of the good ones there at the moment, but yeah, definitely Stuart Lancaster was very good.
I think that's it then. I don't
Yeah.
think there's any more questions, is there? That's great.
No, I think we're good. Okay, guys, thanks a million. We're looking forward to seeing you all again out on the pitches, and best luck to everyone. And we're back up again every week. We're doing webinars for the next, maybe, it could be for the next 8 to 10, 12 weeks. So we're looking to learn loads as well. So thanks a million.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, lads. Well